Ooh, that sounded loud. Forgive me, y'all. Just trying out these new sounds, trying out this new stuff. Gotta bear with me. Liking how that sound. All right. Let me stop trying to be a DJ. That's my other job. All right, let me turn it down a bit. Ooh. All right, time to end this week. All right, what's up, y'all? Let me turn this down real quick. All right. Yeah, we got something going on. All right, y'all. Welcome back. This is Dissect the Dialogue. If you are new, I'm Eric Terrans. If you're not new, y'all should already know what the deal is. We back with more topics, more the nitty gritty, the taboo, the unknown, the barbershop gossip. You know, I hate using that word, but y'all get my gist. How's y'all's Friday going? How's y'all's week been going? I should say that. I should say that in particular. Crazy stuff's been happening. A lot of stuff been coming out of the woodworks. The stuff about them submarines, though, that shit is crazy. That's wild. And then, I mean, about the Titanic stuff, I mean, everybody knew what was going on with that. That was like a no-brainer. Everybody knew. I always knew, like, the Titanic stuff was kind of fake, though. Like, the story, like, most stuff, I noticed, like, most stuff in, like, history books, they never really tell us exactly what's going on. It's, like, always fabricated in some way. Even if it sounds good on paper, it's probably bullshit. Let's just be honest. But, yeah, that was crazy when I saw that. And none other than The Simpsons, of all shows, was predicting that shit, right? But I always find it funny, like, because The Simpsons, they've been around. How long have they been around? Fun fact, I think I remember the date. Yeah, it was one of my brothers. Got two brothers, in case y'all don't know. One of my oldest brothers. Shout out to D. I think it was on his birthday, December 17th, and it aired 89. So it's been on the air for 30, about to be 33, going on 34 years. And the shit that they say on that show, I'm surprised they haven't gutted them yet. But how come a show like that isn't being ridiculed and all that? Now, I will say this, because everybody wants to be on their fake woke mode. I believe one of the characters, Abu, I think. It's Apu? Is it Apu? The Indian dude. Y'all know who I'm talking about, if y'all watch The Simpsons. I think apparently they changed the voice actor. Yeah, they changed like the voice actor with some person of a certain descent, some shit like that. And I noticed, who else did they do it to? Who else did they do it to? I know they did it to. They did it to Big Mouth. Yeah, one of the girls in Big Mouth. I noticed that. You know, did it, and I know they did it in Family Guy with Cleveland, I think. But I think I think that could be a subtopic. I'll probably get into that more. But the main topic, I know, like, people like The Simpsons, shows like The Simpsons, that's been on forever, been exposing a whole bunch of truths for decades, right? But they're still on the air. They're not getting penalized for what they say. The creators of the show's not getting, they haven't been sued, they haven't been like canceled, or they had to step down or anything like that, right? But, and I looked at this article for all my Rick and Morty fans that love the show. Justin Roiland, the creator, who also did, and I haven't checked this out yet, but Solar, I haven't checked it out yet. I gotta see that. But Rick and Morty. So there's this article that came out a few days ago. It's saying, and y'all, and for those that saw it, I posted it on my IG. It was saying Rick and Morty is recasting Justin Roiland as creator for season 7. Okay. That says, okay. So it says the co-creator star of Adult Swim phenom Rick and Morty was booted from the show earlier this year following the public unveiling of felony domestic violence charges and the widespread denouncement of inappropriate and abusive behavior among cast and crew. Now it says on January 24th, the show announced Roiland's departure and reassured fans that the show will continue. The charges against Roiland have since been dismissed. Now, me doing my research, okay, I read that he may have said something that was kind of, little out of pocket, right? Now, mind you, I'm not, defending whatever he said or did, right? But I always had this thing where I was connected, certain things. I noticed patterns in certain things, and I always realized this. Rick and Morty, in a way, you can tell. I know it was based on like Back to the Future, the way it carried it, but as far as like the structure of it and the chaoticness of it, you could tell most adult animations is in some way Simpsons influenced to some capacity. And Rick and Morty kind of has that. But because it's specifically for an adult, fan base, an adult demographic, they really get into the uncomfortable stuff, why I like it even more. They were shit since day one. They've been talking about parallel universes. They've been talking about hypocrisy of religion, government, things of that nature, toxic family dynamics, just uncomfortable stuff, scripted thing. And this is what it really gets to, right? Really, really comes to these sexual harassment cases. Um, Bill Cosby, another person, you know, was about to buy NBC. He was gonna make like a predominantly, black version of NBC, right? Soon he's about to bake in and cash it in. They had this stuff where his son died unexpectedly, right? Then he kept on trying to poke the bear. Then allegations came out. All of a sudden, a bunch of women that 30 years ago, all of a sudden remembered they was raped. Now all of a sudden remember they didn't want to bring this man down. Again, not condoning Bill's, Mr. Cosby's actions, but I do realize a sort of strangeness into how abrupt it was. You know, then all of a sudden, he gets thrown in jail. Not everybody wants to act like he's this piece of shit, right? And then I can keep going. I can go from people loving Donald Trump, especially black people loving Donald Trump, then hating him. I can keep going, but R. Kelly, the list goes on. But it's just weird how we just all of a sudden pick and choose what do we like or hate this person based on what they do outside of their creative, endeavors, right? It's funny how we pick and choose who we associate with, who we rock with, who we fuck with. You get my point. But the question for tonight is that can we separate the person from the art? Are we capable of not taking what they do or what they say or what their thoughts are outside of what we know them for or like them for? Because unfortunately, and especially in this climate, we have a bad case of let's just say a bad case of worshiping celebrities. I think it's probably worse than it ever was before. Because now all of a sudden we're making shows and, now mind you, there has always been like that, but it's almost like we're making shows and movies and documentaries of pretty much people damn near being in cults over another human being. You got people literally willing to kill you if you disrespect someone that's already dead. And I know I'm speaking to everyone, but I'm speaking to people directly that look like me and that share my experience. That when it comes to, and we're so religious, right? But when it comes to worshiping man, I mean, damn, it's like laughable. It's like we're so tucked in with our, good book. We love saying we read every book, which is impossible. I mean, our people in And people I grew up with in my neighborhood, my background can't even read a Harry Potter book, but you expect me to believe you could read a fucking Bible? Cut it out. Anyway, but it's just funny that, we tend to pick and choose, what we allow. What is our fixation with celebrity worship? What is it that we gain from, you know, almost like bowing down, sucking off, kissing ass to these people that if they see you in the street, they probably wouldn't care about you. If I would bet a dollar to a dime, they would probably try their best to run away because if you were in that situation, you would do that too. But because they may say some things or they may act a certain way, then you paint a bad picture of them, on some video and you go about it. Then all of a sudden, you got other people listening and then they think. Now, I will say this. There are some people, celebrities, that do have like a godlike complex where because other people, because when it comes to people being famous and having some sort of status, it's people that have to bring them up. Billionaires don't just become billionaires by themselves. It's a fact. Same thing with celebrity. They don't just become famous. I mean, unless you're the Kardashians and you're doing a whole bunch of witchcraft and shit, that's another story. But even them, they had to garnish some sort of fame or attention somehow, some way from a mass of other people. But it's funny how people always like to use stuff, and that's a main topic too. Like, I got a training for the job, right? And like most jobs, they always mention sexual harassment, right? So as I'm watching the sexual harassments, of course, they're showing a man, being aggressive with a woman, right? I'm watching these two videos, and I'll break down the different types. But as I'm finished watching the video, then they say, now mind you, sexual harassment doesn't have to be just one specific gender. Every gender, both genders can be the harasser and the harassed. Then why the hell did you just show a man being the harasser? That doesn't make any sense. But this is what I'll get into. But so let's break down what it actually means because unfortunately we're in a society where every you know everybody likes to change definitions of things so they can feel good. They do it to the Bible too, so you can't really blame them for how they do it in everyday life. But let's look up what it actually means because we believe in definitive meanings over here. Okay. Make sure I get this right. Now it says sexual harassment is a type of harassment involving the use of explicit or implicit sexual overtones, including the unwelcome and inappropriate promises of rewards in exchange for sexual favors. Includes a range of actions from verbal transgressions to sexual abuse or assault. Okay. So now it's a common thing in a lot of the big industries that men are the predators, right? And don't get me wrong. I can't ignore the obvious, right? But why aren't stories like, let's say, an Antoine Fisher is never mentioned, right? Why is always like stories where young boys are often, and I'm gonna not censor, are often, molested or sexually assaulted or raped. Let's be honest. When it's something like that, it's either not really looked at or it's made fun of. Like, yeah, I don't know if y'all remember That's My Boy, that Adam Sandler movie when he was like a 14-year-old dude that was got famous because he was having sex with his teacher. If that was reversed, you think that movie would have seen the light of day? That's one of the point I'm trying to make. Like, it's never funny when it's the other way around. It's always a mockery. Just like most things with men, our pain is always humorous. Now, mind you, we have a tendency of turning our pain into humor. That's why I think we make better comedians than women. Hate to offend women in the audience, but you know, most female comedians are kind of one trick ponies. They either talk about sex, bad relationships, or they're trying to mimic men behavior. Don't believe me? Watch every female comedian that you've probably seen in the last 30, 40 years. And that proves my point. But anyway, but sometimes sexual rapping doesn't have to be just, words. Sometimes it could be a quid pro quo. Now, I won't look up the definition because I kind of know it. Basically, quid pro quo, what that is basically kind of like a favor for a favor, which is a common thing that goes on in most industries. Music, film industry, just even regular jobs. That happens. You do something, do a little something strange for a piece of change type of mentality, right? And you'll get something in return. So you got that as well. Now, the problem with that is, again, yes, okay, is I do see it as a big issue. But why is it always a big issue especially when a certain man is reaching a certain level of status, right? And then as soon as they reach that, they get to that high level, allegations just come out of nowhere. And I notice it's, you know, a bunch of women that didn't really seem to have a problem with dealing with these predatorial men, these perverted men. They didn't seem to have a problem with them when it was, when those same men that were predators was giving them jobs and making sure they don't starve. They weren't predators then though. But when you not, stuff ain't popping for you right now, all of a sudden they're a predator. That's why that whole movement kind of messed everything up. It made every woman seem like she was just a victim and everything. And I didn't believe that stuff because nobody talks about the women in those industries that shame other women. Or in this case, sometimes shame men. Nobody talks about those, you know, alpha woman, which is a made up term, uh, as of recent. Nobody talks about them in print. The female predators is always like, not even included in a sense, right? But it's okay if female predators are not, no means no. It's fine as long as it's not men. So basically, a woman can pretty much abuse a man. Like I'm pretty sure men that is probably listening to me right now knows what it's like to have a woman harass them, right? Probably like grope them, right? Like be close to them, be in their personal space when they didn't ask for it. And right out the gate, what happens? The gay bashing comes in, the slander comes in, the accusations. Oh, if you're gay, just say that. I didn't know. Like, if I'm so, I don't see you at gay clubs. I mean, you don't really have a problem with gays when you're having sleepovers with them. But then, which is another thing too that I find interesting. What is up with? And I'll take it even a step further because I think it applies specifically in the black community. What is up with black women being friends with gay black men? What is up with that? I thought y'all wanted strong men, masculine men. But every time when the man that you want approaches you, they're toxic. But the same men that you claim you don't want your sons to be, you hang around. I think in this day and age, like, and I know, well, you got to count the men as well. Oh yeah, I'm gonna count the men as well. But the way the narrative is going is that men are shit and women are victims. So if we're gonna go by that narrative, I'll go by that narrative. Okay, men are shit. Okay, why are you still picking them? I mean, you say you're such a diamond. Every man thinks it's easy for you to get. So you're not that much of a prize if you're easy to get. That's also confusing. Just like it's confusing that you can't find a man, it's pretty confusing that you're a prize, but every man seems to have slid in your, your tunnel multiple times. So somebody's lying, you know. But again, more, divide and conquer tactics, more gender war tactics. I mean, always going to end we do something to fix it ourselves. But until that happens, I don't know what's going to occur for that. But I notice the pattern a lot when it comes to certain people in power. You can go back to Michael Jackson, you know, when he was buying Sony, and, tricking these corporate, sharks, because Michael Jackson, I mean, you got to think he'd been in the, entertainment industry as a young kid. He didn't actually be in it. But it's like, what can you do? You either complain about the situation that you were in or figure out the cheat codes. Excuse me. So Michael Jackson figured out the cheat codes. He figured out how his way, he was able to move and shake through the, the vultures and all that. And they hated it. They tried to slander him any kind of way. Sure, made it did some damage, but he still didn't budge. He still did his thing. He still pushed through, you know? And once they couldn't take it no more, they had to find some way to kill him without killing him. So especially you know, indigenous black, whatever you want to call him, man, because that's what he was, regardless of the other shit. He was one of us, let's be clear. When they realized that they couldn't do nothing to him no more, they had to figure out some way to get off him. And what's the known thing that the powers that be are known for doing when they want to get rid of someone of a certain complexion out of the picture? Get another person that's of a certain complexion to do it. So it looks like, a genocidal type of, you know what I mean? Like a genocidal type of death. Happened with Malcolm X, happened with Michael Jackson, and happened with Nip. Same kind of way. Really certain most rappers, but it's all the same rotation. You know, either they throw accusations on you when you don't want to abide by the rules. They'll try to dig up some old dirt. Even if it doesn't stick, they'll try to change it up in any sort of way. Like these people that work in this media world is wicked. They're willing to make up some shit, create a story just for a few dollars, and they'll do it for a few more. Especially if they don't like you, and especially if you got this, they'll do it. They'll tarnish you. They'll do it the best way you can. When someone steps into that realm of not taking bullshit no more, oh yeah, they'll come for you. I think, and I won't even add. I mean, this happened with a lot of people. I mean, some people get away with it, some don't. But I mean, it's you're exposing the real hit truth that's been hidden. Oh yeah, they're not gonna like it. I think Simpsons probably got other ties. That's why they can get away with saying certain things. Futurama, same creators, but even Futurama had moments when they were canceled, but then they came back. But Rick and Morty, but I think Rick and Morty, the person that created that, I think probably worse because you know the show as a whole. You got to give credit to the show as much as the creator. The dude that's made the show, you could tell he doesn't really. He has his own kind of style. Like this man literally gets drunk and like does takes. He doesn't really. He's very unorthodox. He gets drunk and does his takes. He doesn't really have like a concrete style of writing is very free flowing. That's the very impromptu, very free flowing style. And I think people like how it's structured because they see like it's not forced. Nothing is nothing is nothing is what they've seen before, which is what I like about it. You know, they're not afraid to get too uncomfortable either. And shout out to, if y'all haven't seen Moral Oral, I watched that when I was a kid. You want to talk about dark humor and a show that was ahead of its time? Watch Moral Oral. I remember like I was watching, I was like, yo, I remember this show. Then I was like watching, I was like, yo, I forgot how dark this shit was. This where people in my generation, like that millennial, that young millennial, or maybe older Gen Z can probably remember some more Oral on Adult Swim because that was like I was like, yo, this shit is super dark. I'm like, why am I watching this? But that's crazy how that was, man. That's crazy how they just, they weren't afraid. I think that show created a lot of other shows that weren't afraid to step into dark humor, like a Rick and Morty, a BoJack Horseman, things like that. That was great. That like, and you see why Rick and Morty, a show like that, they're trying to do everything to get rid of that one. They were probably surprised it lasted like that long, but when you saying too much shit truthful, I think what really pissed them off is if y'all seen the episode where Rick was like hosting the Oscars, right? And then like Rick and Samantha was cheering him on like, oh wow, I didn't know you did this part. Like, was that scripted? And then Rick was like, everything is scripted, including that one thing. And right there, I was like, I know what they're talking about. I know they were talking about that Will Smith shit. I was like, but I like shows and movies that don't think the audience is dumb. They let the audience think. Doesn't let the audience think like kind of like how like Christopher Nolan's movies, like they don't let you like, oh, this is what we're talking about. No, I want the audience to figure it out themselves. That's why I like that show. They let us figure out certain shit, and that's why I rock with that show. And I think that's why the higher ups don't like it. They don't like that people are getting smart. They want to keep us in that idiot, keep us dumbed out through looking at the idiot box with the tell lie vision. Because we're seeing a bunch of lies all the time. And when something tells you the truth, that's when it's kaput. Like most stuff. I think the Carmichael Show did the same thing. Carmichael Show was saying too much shit. And that it wasn't a toxic show, especially like in the black community, it wasn't a toxic show like that. Like shout out Insecure, like yeah, it wasn't violent. They weren't selling drugs, but they did kind of, for those that watch it, you know where I'm going with this. They was still including the toxicity in our community, still kind of had like that. What's the word I'm looking for? Very kind of like toxic relationship type thing. They had that. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But I mean, as far as learning how to separate art from a person. Sure, what they may do or say outside of what we know them for, it can get conflated sometimes because we can kind of put them at a high pedestal. But at the end of the day, they got to make a living. I'm not going to agree to everything that they may say or do, but I don't think it would, I mean, me personally, someone like Kanye saying the stuff he said doesn't really bother me as I thought it would. I mean, what you want me to do? I mean, I mean, would it? I mean, you wouldn't be entertained if he was saying, "Well, yeah, I do support." You would be bored out of his fucking mind. I mean, y'all would be bored. I think it'd be boring if Kanye was going the whole BLM narrative and doing what they expect every famous person to say, or take the vaccine, do this. Everybody would be bored, probably. It would. I feel like I'm choking. But yeah, that's just my take on it, man. It's just wow. The times we're living, like they're just shutting down anybody that's speaking truth. They're shutting down everybody. Not me though. It's gonna take a whole army to take me down. But other than that, thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all can like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on Spotify, Anchor, now Spotify Podcasters, Amazon, and if you're not new, thank you for liking, share, comment, spread the word, and I'll continue to give the message. Again, as I always do. Thank y'all for tuning in. Until next time. Peace.